Welcome back, Insiders. Today we're going to take a look at the Maximilian figure from Diamond Select. That's from their Black Hole line, which is now consisting of just Maximilian and Bob and Vincent, which I will show you in a little bit, just for reference. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what the Black Hole movie is. It's definitely not a new movie. It was probably came out in the late 70s, 79, possibly 80 or 81 at the latest. The Black Hole was put out by Disney at the time. It was one of their live-action movies that was trying to ride the coattails of the Star Wars franchise, which was blowing up everywhere around the nation. So Disney's attempt to cash in on that was the Black Hole. Just a little backstory real quick. I saw that as a kid. I must have been around 8 or 9, possibly 10 at the oldest. And it was an odd movie. It was a mix between robots and outer space, although much of it took place within one ship. And it had a very scary horror aspect to it as a kid. There were some members of the crew that were missing, and they ended up being under these domed uniforms, and they were exposed at the end, so it was a little creepy there. And Maximilian himself, the robot that I'm reviewing in this video, was very intimidating. There was no voice. There was just a menacing presence that Maximilian had, and as a kid, it was quite frightening. Moving on to the figure itself, as you can see, it's still in the package, and in the package is quite large. It's about 12 inches tall, I'd say about 8 inches wide, and at least 6 inches thick. It has a peg holder on the top, and as you can see, the figure itself ranges about 6 to 7 inches in height and has numerous accessories, which we'll see once we get this guy open. Now, I really hate to get this guy open, but that's the only way to do the review, so let's take a look at what's inside. Before we move on to Maximilian, you can see that I also have the Vincent and Bob figures, the second assortment in the collection. I won't be opening the Vincent and Bob figures today during the review, but if you guys want it, please leave a comment down below and I will consider it for a future video. I do know that in my travels to find these two, the Vincent and Bob figures were a little bit more rare to find. Doesn't mean they're rare, they were rare for me to find compared to Maximilian. So for right now, I'm going to hold off on that and we're going to get to the Maximilian figure now. Well, as you can see, I have it out of the box, but it's still in the plastic. Before I take it out of the plastic, you can see what the figure looks like. There's a head replacement for him, a couple disc replacements for his buzzsaw arms, and a few other accessories. I also have in the box a stand unit and a backdrop to show him standing up with the controls of the ship behind him. So just give me a few minutes, we'll get this going and get him out and on display. Alright, Insiders, I have Maximilian out of the box. It took a little bit of time to cut all the straps and release all the tape, but it was secure in the packaging without a doubt. Now I'm going to take you a little bit around the figure. As you can see, he's standing upright on a very stable stand. Makes him look like he's floating. There's some accessories that came with it. There's some blue blast lightning, so to speak, that you can attach to them, which we'll do later. There's some spinning blades that give the effect that they're spinning that you can replace on the arms, which we'll show later as we assemble him. There's another replacement blade for one of the arms. There's a piece, very small piece here. I'm sure it's an arm replacement. I'm not quite sure what it is at this time. And then finally there's the helmet. You can replace the head, and if I get close enough, hopefully the camera's picking it up, as you can see some eyes in there and the bridge of a nose, as opposed to what he looks like normally, where there's just a plastic red shield where the eyes would be. Now bear in mind, there's nobody in this, it's a robot in the movie. But towards the end, you see somebody's face in there, which I'll get into in a little bit when I talk about the black hole itself. So that's Maximilian, and all the pieces that come with it, of this figure. Now, as I spoke about earlier, The Black Hole was an odd movie. It was a Disney movie, live action, space-oriented movie about a crew who's on the edge of the black hole, and they aboard a ship that's sitting near the black hole. It looks deserted, and they end up finding one man there with his loyal robot Maximilian and a crew which consisted of some guards, very Star Wars-like, stormtrooper-like guards, and some creatures who were manning the ship. Those guys actually turned out to be the long-lost crew. Not sure if they were preserved or if they were zombified or what it was, but it was a little freaky as a kid to see them pull this domed mask off and see the shriveled up face behind it. If you wanna see an interesting movie, try to find The Black Hole and watch it in your spare time. But what I want to do now is move on to likeness. I mean, how well did they sculpt Maximilian to match the movie character? Well, I'll tell you, just purely from memory as a kid, this thing is spot on accurate. I mean, you can see, if you see up close, there's little chip marks on the paint, which are intentional to show that the robot's been in some little bit of wear and tear through some battles. The arms that come out, the panels that flip. If you look around the figure, it's 100% movie accurate all around. Right down to the face, which is non-existent, like I said, but it gives you an ominous appearance for him. Like I said, all you have to do is check out the movie and you're going to say this is Maximilian, 100% represented as a figure. As with every review, we go through likeness, playability, and posability. And as you can see, for posability, all the arms are moving out nicely. Almost at what would be elbow joints. Also move on both sides. Move up and around. So you can have them any which direction when you're posing them. As you can see down on the lower end, the flaps move. Both flaps move up and down, so you can pose them however you like. And I just want to give special attention to the actual stand. I mean, it's very stable. I mean, there's no movement whatsoever to him unless I'm doing it myself. Otherwise, he stands stable. He can rotate. You can display him in any direction. It's a very, very, very good display. I've seen some displays that you put your figure on it, flops over. You put him up again, he flops over. You put it up again, he flops over. Here, I put it on once, that's all it needed. So for posability, this guy can do a lot for being just a robot. A lot of things you can move and change his appearance. Different all the time. What about playability? Well, since there's only 2 other robots in the collection, there's not much playability to these figures, more or less just displaying them in possibly a diorama or placing them next to each other in different poses and changing the poses as you go. But for a child, I would not say that this is a playable toy without the stand. Notice he pops right off the stand, but without the stand, he's stable, but yet has a lot of rocking motion with a slight touch. So he does stand up on his own. You can change out his weaponry. You can change out his helmet. You can change out his blaster fire here in the blue. But he does have limited playability since there's no other sets, no other figures besides the robots, and no ships to put him in to complete your play experience. So for playability, I'd say would be weak, but it does have great display options. Just to show a little flexibility in the accessories, notice I changed the right arm, if you will, of him and put a spinning blade appearance on there. On his left side here, I added a blade. If you notice in the head, just for fun, I changed out some of the accessories on Maximilian. As you can see over here, I put on the spinning blade feature. On his left side, I took out the closed blade and put in the open blade, which was easy to do. And finally, I changed the head of Maximilian, put the ones with the eyes, if you could see the eyes there. It was a simple process, just pull it out, the other head just pops back in. Now, one thing I want to note is on these other arms here, there's no movement, you can't remove them, you can't change them. Now that's not a plus for me in my book. If everything was interchangeable, it would have added some a little more customization to this figure with the accessories are given. Now everyone, until we get into our final review, whether this is a buy, wait, or pass on this figure, I'm just going to give you a little background on where to find them and the suggested manufacturer's retail price. I paid roughly $25 to $29 for this figure. It was available in some local comic shops. It was available online through Amazon. It's available through some of the major action figure outlets. I had a little more trouble finding the Vincent and Bob figure, so it seems like I said earlier in the video, that one seems a little bit more rare to find than Maximilian. So now we're at the time of the final verdict. Is this a buy, wait, or a pass? Well, for those who know the black hole, this is definitely a buy. Buy now. Before it becomes rare that the price on the secondary market goes sky high, you could be paying $40, $50, $60 if it becomes scarce to a lot of people who want to pick it up. If you don't know the movie, maybe it's best to go out and try and rent it, or if you can download it and watch it. I'm sure you'll fall in love with Maximilian, and then it'll definitely turn from a wait to a buy. When to pass on this? There's no reason to pass on this figure. If you don't even know it, it makes a nice figure for your shelf. It's a nice robot in general. It's a unique item. So I would say there is no pass on this one. So grab one when you can. Like I said, Amazon, action figure websites, and even comic book shops around town should have this one. So insiders, thanks again for joining me for this video. Like I said earlier, if you want me to review the Vincent and Bob figure, please leave a comment down below. And while you're at it, please like this video and subscribe for future action figure reviews, movie reviews, game reviews, and more. Thanks again for joining me. See you next time.